In 1936, archaeologists digging near Baghdad uncovered a small clay jar. Inside it was copper, iron, and traces of acid. Some believe it's the world's first battery, built nearly 2,000 years before electricity was discovered. But the truth behind this strange artifact is far more complicated and far more mysterious. Our story begins in Kujut Rabu, a site near the ruins of ancient Ctesiphon, once the capital of the Parthian and later Sasanian Empire. Archaeologists discover a small, unremarkable clay jar about the size of your hand, but inside this jar was something no one expected. A copper cylinder sealed with asphalt. Suspended inside that cylinder, an iron rod, and at the bottom, chemical residue, the kind you get from vinegar or wine, both acidic liquids. Put these pieces together and you get something that looks suspiciously like a simple galvanic cell, a primitive battery. The idea was first proposed by Wilhelm Koenig, the director of the National Museum of Iraq's laboratory. Once he suggested it, the world ran with it. The most famous theory surrounding this artifact is simple. The Baghdad Battery was a battery. When replicas are filled with vinegar or lemon juice, they produce a small electrical charge just under a volt. Not enough to power a light bulb, but enough for electroplating, electrotherapy, or ritualistic shocks. Some researchers believe ancient craftsmen may have used it to coat objects in thin layers of metal. Others think it could have been used in religious ceremonies, a literal spark of the divine. This theory is exciting, cinematic, and fits perfectly to the idea of ancient technology ahead of its time. But there's a problem. Most archaeologists reject the battery theory entirely. Why? Because there's no evidence of electroplated objects from that era. No wires, no connectors, no written descriptions, nothing that suggests anyone in the region was experimenting with electricity. To them, the Baghdad Battery is simply a storage jar, maybe for scrolls, maybe for sacred objects, and the battery interpretation is a modern fantasy. A third theory sits in the middle. The copper, iron, and acidic liquid might have been symbolic, not functional. Ancient Mesopotamian rituals often used combinations of materials believed to hold spiritual power. In this view, the Baghdad Battery wasn't meant to produce electricity, but it might have produced a small charge accidentally, surprising to anyone who touched it. A sacred object with a shocking twist. So, what was the Baghdad Battery? Here's what we know for certain. It dates to somewhere between 150 BC and 650 AD. It contains copper, iron, and acidic residue. It can produce electricity when reconstructed, and its true purpose remains unknown. Some see it as proof of lost ancient science, others see it as a misunderstood artifact, and some believe the truth lies somewhere in between, a device whose meaning has been lost to time. But here's the most fascinating part. There were multiple jars, not just one. Several similar artifacts were found in the same region. Were they all ritual objects? Were they all storage jars? Or were they part of a forgotten experiment? One that never made it into the history books. The Baghdad Battery today sits in the Iraq Museum, a small clay jar that challenges our assumptions about the ancient world. Was it a scientific breakthrough thousands of years ahead of its time? A misunderstood ritual object? Or simply a coincidence of materials that look like a battery to modern eyes? The truth is, we still don't know, and maybe that's what makes it so compelling, because sometimes history's greatest mysteries aren't the ones we can solve, but the ones that remind us how much we've forgotten. Do you think the Baghdad Battery was a real ancient technology or just a misunderstood artifact, and why? And if you love uncovering the strange, the forgotten, and the unexplained, subscribe to History Uncharted project. There are countless mysteries waiting, and we're just getting started.